I want to bring in now Democratic Senator Amy Klobuchar from Minnesota. Senator, good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
First, your reaction. Did you think it was a good decision for President Biden to not seek re-election?
I did. I will say that President Biden took the honorable path today, and he did it for all the right reasons. He did it because he knows that our democracy is on the line. He has such a record to be proud of, everything from the infrastructure bill everyone always talked about, to taking on the pharmaceutical companies, to bringing the world together and strengthening NATO, to bringing back the rule of law and putting in Ketanji Brown Jackson on the Supreme Court. And my heart goes out to him and his family and everything they've done for their country. But he took the honorable path today.
And Senator, are you endorsing Kamala Harris, the vice president, to be the next Democratic nominee?
I am. I think you know, Nora, that Kamala Harris and I ran against each other for president. And what I learned from that experience was that, one, she's an incredibly strong leader who will bring to this office and to this campaign the receipts. She, along with President Biden, got our nation through this pandemic. We've seen record job increases. She is someone that knows the work, knows the job. And I also know her as a good person. I actually got to be better friends of hers when we ran against each other than we just knew each other more casually in the Senate. So I'm very excited about this. I heard you talking ahead of time about, what this is going to do for the ticket. I think this is going to be an incredible shot in the arm in terms of there's going to be a lot of excitement, and I can't wait to get started.
President Biden endorsing his vice president. The Clintons in a joint statement endorsing the vice president. President Barack Obama issuing a statement, but he did not endorse her, instead talking about the legacy of Joe Biden, his former vice president. Senator, do you expect there to be any challenge to Kamala Harris in acquiring the Democratic nomination?
I don't know that right now, Nora. There could be. This is a democracy, and our party has always been a big tent party. We bring people in. That's the way President Biden and Kamala Harris went on to win the White House. And I think the important thing right now is there's going to be such a clear contrast between these two leaders. You have Kamala Harris, the former prosecutor, someone who is going to stand up for a woman's right to make her own decision about her health care. Then you have Donald Trump, who has been, convicted and who has faced multiple indictments. At the same time, his views on freedom, when you look at his position, he said in a video that he was proudly the person to overturn Roe v. Wade and to put those judges in place. You'll see the difference on their economic plans and standing up for people. It is Vice President Harris in her leadership role, and I worked with her on a number of infrastructure projects for Minnesota, who didn't just talk the talk. She and President Biden got it done. So I just think you're going to see a big contrast as we go forward. I cannot wait to see that first debate, coming up when those two are going to go head to head, because Kamala Harris is a fierce competitor, and she's going to go on to be the president of the United States.
And who do you think she should choose, and who should the Democratic Party choose as her running mate?
I think there are incredible quality candidates out there. She's going to have a lot to choose from. I think it's going to be an expedited process. There's not a lot of time left. So I think you're going to really see people coming together, and she's going to have to pick someone very soon. But I think you're going to have a lot of excitement. There is no shortage of running mates for Kamala Harris.
Senator, we've, as you know, I have Margaret and Robert and Ed O'Keefe here who would like to get in as well on this breaking news. So I'll let Margaret go first.
Senator, good to talk to you. As you know, women register and vote at higher rates than men in presidential elections. That's been the case for 40-odd years now. Do you think that that should be a factor in the selection of a vice president for for Kamala Harris? In other words, do you think that there's a world in which she selects a female running mate, someone like a Gretchen Whitmer, or does she need to lean in and shore up, frankly, a weakness for the Democratic Party among men? Do you have thoughts on that?
I don't think she's going to shut anyone out. And what we want here is the most qualified person for the job. And I think today is the day, if I would say, in this fast speed dating that we're going to be going through for the vice presidential choice. But today is the day where we honor President Biden's legacy and his very difficult decision, which events that I think were not expected by a lot of people, happened quickly, and he made a decision, a patriotic decision for our country. And then we also celebrate the fact that someone with the skills and the leadership ability of Kamala Harris was endorsed by President Biden and many other of my colleagues.
But for Democrats, if this is a race that Democrats have to win because, as you say, democracy is at stake, that selection of a running mate could really be decisive here. And certainly with the vice president, she has been able to talk about reproductive health care in a really strong way. She has talked certainly about some other issues like that. And I wonder what you think is needed to complete the ticket. Are there qualities, are there topics, are there issues that you think could shift the tide? Because as you know, in our polling, Donald Trump is ahead, whether it's Kamala Harris or Joe Biden.
Well aware, but it's a very close race, and I think you know that. Now we're going to have a whole new game, an entirely new ticket. And I think, again, you want to have someone for this job that, one, she trusts. We know how important that is, how good presidents and vice presidents of both parties have worked together in the past. Number two, you want to have someone who knows how to govern, who could step into the job. Number three, you want to have someone that brings other skills to the office. And I think any of the names that have been thrown out there, I'm not going to start naming names because there's so many of them, could well fit that description. So I believe sometimes you have a situation for some reason in our national politics where it is really hard to find someone. She's got a lot of great choices.
Senator Klobuchar, Bob Costa,
Hey,
some
Bob.
of your colleagues came out publicly against President Biden. There was a pressure campaign, not just behind the scenes, but Senator Tester, Senator Brown, and others, among many House members, came out. Do you believe that was an appropriate decision by your colleagues to take those public stands against the president? Because many of President Biden's allies tell me this afternoon, Senator, that many of the Democrats in the Senate and in the House effectively put him in a corner, that he was forced to make this decision. And while many are being positive at this moment about that they believe a ticket can now be strong and beat former President Trump, there's a lot of bitterness toward how some people in Congress handled this and forced President Biden's hand in the views of his closest advisors. Can you speak to that, about what Democratic senators were up to publicly and behind the scenes to force this to happen, and any role you might have played, whether tangential or not?
You know, everyone makes their own decisions about how they handle things. And what I'd say, I'm sure there's bitterness. I'm sure there's hard feelings. But you know what? We don't have time for that right now. It doesn't matter who talked behind the scenes and who said this and how they divided, what words they used, when did they call someone. There is no time for that right now. Because to me, the main goal here is to make sure that we have a president that respects the rule of law, that's going to stand up for working people in this country, and is going to lead our nation on the world stage. And so I don't think we're going to have time, and maybe it's a matter of time. I'm sure books will be written, Bob, on this entire few weeks in history. But right now, we can't look back. We can only look forward.
And Senator, one more question from Ed O'Keefe.
Well, you've kind of laid this out, Senator, but if you get approached by somebody back home in the Twin Cities there in the next few days, and they say, I don't know enough about her. I don't think that she's qualified to do this. She hasn't been out there as much. She, the memes about her on social media are basically all I ever see. What do you tell them? Why is she capable of being Commander-in-Chief of the United States of America?
Well, for me, I start with where she started. She started as a prosecutor. that's a hard job. You've got to make decisions. You've got to take on very difficult cases. Your main goal is to make sure people are safe, and that's one of the main goals of government. That's how she started in politics. I then go to her term as a senator, where she was a fierce advocate for justice and for the people of this country. She stood up against, in our judiciary hearings, some of those very Supreme Court justices who made the decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. She stood up against those Supreme Court justices who issued the decision that has meant that 1 out of 3 women in this country are now living in states that have extreme abortion bans. I then move on to her time as vice president. We all remember what that was like when they came in. I was there on that inauguration stage under the beautiful blue sky, and I saw her get sworn in. And from there, she and President Biden had to get us through this pandemic. And we emerged from one of the most difficult times in our history, where we were in 300 million separate silos, where people weren't even able to go out and go to their grandma's birthday parties anymore. And we came out of that strong, so that our economy is not just stable, we are adding jobs and adding more jobs. They made a focus, and I remember Vice President Harris talking about this when we were debating each other for the presidency. They made a focus of making sure we got there on infrastructure, on manufacturing in America again, on bringing back the rule of law. So she is going to have more than a case to prosecute. She is going to have a case to be made for the future of America, and that's what's going to be on the line in this election. That's Senator. What I would tell my constituents. And I would also point to more than a few bridges and other things and broadband and practical things that this administration has brought home to them.
Well, it sounds like you'll be able to talk the ear off of that voter, Senator.
You asked me the question.
No, I know. No, I know, Senator. Always, yes. Thank you so much for joining us on this historic day. We appreciate it.